Hello, my name is Tasha and I'm part of the PEPELT team, and PEPELT stands for Picturebooks in European Primary English Language Teaching. Now within the PEPELT team, my role is to look at the book of the month and look at it, what I could do with it or what I would do with it in primary teacher education. Now I hope by now you've seen the videos from Sandy and from Gail. Some lovely ideas. Our book of the month is What a Wonderful World, and both Sandy and Gail showed you a lot of lovely, or some of the lovely illustrations that this book has to offer. Now, this book, I'll be terribly honest with you, I was, as much as I love it, I was thinking, oh dear, what would I do with this book? And then I had a bit of a chat with Sandy, and I also listened, or of course watched Gail's video, and I think an important question that Gail raised at the end was, how are you actually going to offer this book to the children in your class? Are you going to read it, or are you going to listen to it? And how are you actually going to carry out your choices? How are you going to do the reading, or how are you going to do the listening to it? How are you going to break that down? And I thought, what an interesting question, and I thought also what a tricky question to answer. So I thought my lesson in primary teacher education would really be based on finding the answer to that question, having student teachers work together in slightly larger teams, look at the book, discuss it, look at the illustrations, and then listen to the music and then think, oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to read? How am I going to get the music in? What is my order? And then I'd like to really do a little bit of micro teaching, get them to actually teach what they've decided to do to each other, see what the reaction is, see if it's actually technically possible to do what they have planned to do. Is it successful? Will it confuse the listener, who would be then the child in their class? That would be my first attempt, or my first idea of what I would do. Now I think as well, the vocabulary side of things, and Gail mentioned, environmental literacy, music literacy. I think those are great areas. You can look at vocabulary for the different areas, and that's something I think they can do and see how they can support, especially environmental literacy. But what I thought, how one could combine all of these ideas was by really just actually focusing on the title, What a Wonderful World. And we do have a wonderful world. And I know Gail had all these lovely potted plants behind, and I don't have any potted plants, but I've given you my tree today, so I've moved. Hope you can enjoy my tree. And I thought, what does it mean, a wonderful world? What does that mean to a child? What does that mean for us? And I thought perhaps I could get some student teachers to create a project, a task, based on what a wonderful world means. See if they can create a task drawing on music, on children creating music, on drawing, on expressing their ideas, and also see how they can bring the English language into this. Is it by means of vocabulary? Is it singing? What are we going to do? And I thought if they could create a project for that, that would also, for me, mean they are really thinking about how old the child would be sitting in their class. And I think that's also a really interesting question, because if you look at the illustrations, you think, oh, this book might be suitable only for the younger classes, the younger primary levels. But actually, if you think about the tasks that you could do with it and what you're trying to achieve, you could also move into the higher primary levels. And I think that's really quite interesting. So a lot of food for thought for the student teachers in my class, I hope. I would like them to create a really good creative task, and then ideally complete it themselves, but also exchange them amongst each other. And I'd like to see a really clear aspect in what language aspect are they focusing on, or how they're trying to support English language learning. In what way is this task going to support language learning? So they really just also reflect and think about it. And when they've completed it, again, think about it. Did it really complete everything they have tried or they wanted to achieve? So these are my ideas for teacher education, with this wonderful book called What a Wonderful World, which left me feeling slightly, what would I do with it? But in the end, I think there's some good ideas, I hope. With that, I wish you a lovely week. We've got one more video coming, which is from Aneta, who actually worked with this book in primary teacher education. She taught it to her lovely primary children in Poland. So thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.